The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. We're expanding our gigabits, so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
It's Not Your Fault is a It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a Team Mental Health podcast. On today's episodes, we are going to talk about mood swings and what to do with them. School is back in session. Children are getting back into a groove. So are parents and caregivers. And you may be noticing something with your adolescent. You may be noticing something with the young person or the young people in your life. Their moods are shifting and changing. But before we dive into the podcast, I want to tell you first about something cool that you need to learn a little bit more about. We're going to call it solar power. So here comes the sun. We all know that solar power can be a big part of the solution for our energy needs. Solar power is clean, renewable, and best of all, the sunshine is cheap and plentiful. Sure, it sounds great to have solar power added to the mix, but how are you going to do that? The answer is easier than you think. The answer is community solar power. Community solar power lets you join a solar farm that produces energy on your behalf. Electricity produced by your solar farm goes on your local power grid, and it allows you as a community solar power member to remain with XL as your utility and solar, and it gives you solar credits to reduce your normal bill. So there you go. You get some big savings on your electricity while you save the environment. And you can do your part by supporting clean energy without installing any solar panels on your roof. That's right. There is no home visits, no new equipment, no construction, and no maintenance. You don't even have to own your own home to be a member of the solar farm. Renters can also enroll and save big too. Right now, if you go to mycleanchoice.com, that's mycleanchoice.com/Shaletta, you can get a $100 Visa gift card when you successfully enroll and place on the farm. So check it out. You can sign up right now for your membership. It takes about 3 minutes to sign up. Shaletta listeners, you get to go into the community solar and you get that $100 Visa gift card. So you definitely want to do it. Don't wait. Don't hold back. Go for it. Get it now. Once again, your first step is to go to mycleanchoice.com/Shaletta. And with that, we're going to dive into the podcast. So go ahead and get that gift card. You know you want it. You know you want to participate in saving the environment, having clean energy. Go for it and get that. But in the midst of getting that, and on your way of getting that, you may be getting away from your adolescent who's giving you attitude, right? This is your break. You go get that solar power. That's your break away from the teenagers who are driving you nuts with their attitudes. You may be noticing changes. I know I have. I have a preteen in the home. She just turned 10 a few months ago. She's entering the 5th grade, but in her mind, she's already entering middle school. And she's just been giving a lot of back talk. She's been giving a lot of eye rolls, a lot of, I'm hearing a lot of that, a lot of sighing. And then I had to look at myself. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is she responding to me and her mother in this way. Everything we say to her, we could just say good morning and we get an attitude. We can say, how was school today? School just started. How was school today? I don't want to talk about it. It's just like, girl, what's going on? Calm down. So we noticed that there's a change happening. You may be noticing changes as well. You've probably been dealing with it for quite some time. And we know that these mood swings happen, they come back and they go forth. So this is something I wanted to talk about today on the podcast and share a little bit of information on how do we deal with this. Well, first, let's talk about what brings on these mood swings. They can be changes at school. For many people, school has just started. That means new students. Your young person may be a new student in a school, new friend groups, new teachers, new expectations. You may have relocated, you may be in a new environment. So, change is one thing that can definitely bring mood swings because children are dysregulated out of their normal routine. We've seen a lot of this take place during the pandemic, where a lot of young people were thrown off their normal routine and had to readjust, and you started to see how their well being was impacted. Well, that also happens when just change takes place in a young person's life. One thing that we know about the development of children is that patterns and habits and rituals are very helpful for them to regulate their own emotions because they can predict what's going to happen. They have expectations for what's going to happen. So their moods are not always all over the place. This is why when children learn, they learn very well in rhythmic form. When we use a lot of songs to do things like the ABCs, or maybe you've heard of Gracie's Corner, where they're using a lot of rhyme to teach about different things, healthy foods, washing hands, meeting people, making friends. Children learn this very well in rhythmic patterns because that's how they are. That's how they develop, is in sequence. So when they're out of sequence, when they're thrown off, that's when you start to notice a lot of their mood swings pick up. It happens even further with adolescents because of just where they're at with their age. That not only are their behaviors going to be dysregulated, but they're also verbally going to give a lot of pushback as well. So they will sigh, they will say, I don't want to do that, or leave me alone, and they will talk back and yell at you and do things where you're just like, what in the world's going on with my kid? But developmentally, that's just where their bodies are, and that's how they're responding to challenges. So you might not think it's right. You may have gotten in trouble when you were younger doing those things. I know when I was growing up, those were big no-nos. In today's world, it's a little different for some families and some households, but it's still something that needs to be maintained by parents and caregivers. And for the young folks who are listening to the podcast, you need to think about how are you responding in these areas as well, and be aware of your mood swings. So we're going to talk about some strategies on how to deal with these things when they actually do come up. So, what is a mood swing is another question. Well, that's just when you go from being okay, you might be just doing just fine, to all of a sudden there's an attitude, or there's some agitation or frustration. There may be even some annoyance. There may be some yelling back and forth between parents and young people. Those are typically mood swings. What can we do about it, right? What can parents and caregivers do about mood swings so that these things don't get out of hand and you don't get a child protection case? Let's just go straight forward. We don't want parents getting to a point where they're physically harming their child. We want to use strategies that are a little bit more healthy, can get the job done, but they may take a lot more patience and time, which is one thing why parents ask me questions like, what should I do about my daughter or my son, who is very mouthy and is, saying these things to me that I don't want to hear and I definitely don't want to tolerate. So here are some things that you can do when these situations show up. The first thing is what we call open communication, which is really just being effective with your communication. This is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship, whether we're talking parent to child, parent to caregiver, we're talking about workplace, coworkers, teammates, whatever we're talking about. Effective communication. This is where we try to have a space or an opportunity where communication is non-judgmental, where feelings and concerns can be heard, and where there actually is a response where both parties are getting something from that response. So when you're actively listening, it's not to just answer and correct what the young person is doing, but it's also to guide and give this young person just some strategy on what to do. This takes a lot of restraint for parents and caregivers because you may be at your wits' end. You've told the young person in your life to do something several times, they haven't done it, or you keep repeating the same thing to them over and over and they haven't done it. And then they finally respond, and now, boom, we have a toxic situation in the home, an explosive situation in the home. We want to avoid those things to the best of our ability if we can. So, what do? well, for the parent or caregiver, try not to interrupt. I know that's hard because sometimes you're listening to something that those young people are saying that you don't want to hear, or is completely wrong, or they misheard or misinterpreted what you said. But try your hardest not to interrupt or pass any judgment. Try to validate what they're feeling, and then when they're done sharing how they feel, then you dive in and then you correct what is going on. And you say, nope, that's not what I meant by saying that. I meant this, this, and this. You heard this one way, and I said what I meant by saying that is this, or the expectation is for you to do this, this, and this, not what you did. So you correct after they share with you what has happened. That will help get one, they get whatever they need to get off without you interrupting. And then two, you get to correct all their misinterpreted thought processes and perceptions of what happened to your liking as well. But you have to be honest when you do this. This is very key. A lot of times parents will say, I didn't say that or I didn't do that, and they definitely did. But they're trying to save face. They don't want to look like they made a mistake. It's okay to admit that you made a mistake as a parent. Actually, that sometimes that helps build your credibility and builds an opportunity for your young person to believe in you. But if you deny, or minimize the things that you do, you're going to further create the divide. So the communication piece is very, very critical when we talk about managing mood swings. The next thing that I will share with you all is to educate yourself on what's happening in the world of young people, so you have some idea of what the heck your young person's even talking about. I mean, a lot of parents, they don't even know what their kids are talking about. Their kids may be struggling with some thing that's going on social media, and the parents or caregivers have no concept for what's happening. So it's important to have a little bit of insight on what are some of the current peer pressures, what are some of the academic stressors that your kids having at school? What are some of the body image concerns, which always change? I mean, back in the 90s, young people, let's say young ladies, they wanted to be very thin. That's changed. That's not today. Today, they want to be more curvy. This is a different type of approach. They wear their hair a particular way. So you have to kind of be in the know of what's happening and what could be contributing to the mood swings. It also can be hormonal. So, are you in the know of what's happening with your kid? Are they going through puberty? Are they being teased because of where they're going through puberty? Do they smell different? Are they smelling bad? Do they need to bathe themselves or groom themselves better? Have they started their menstrual cycle? Like, there's a lot of things that are going on that you might have to educate yourself just in the world of your child. And when you do this, set real expectations too. Realistic expectations are important. If your child is smelly because they're going through puberty and their feet stink, you got to set real expectations. How do we get this person some lotions and make sure they're in a good bath routine? They're clipping their nails, things of this nature, so that they're taking the best possible care of themselves. You can't just say, you smell bad because you're going through puberty. You need to figure out how to deal with it. Sometimes you have to help give them some strategy on how to maintain some of the things that are taking place in their life. Um, Encouraging independence is a good thing to do with the young people as well when they're having mood swings. But you want to always check back in to make sure that they're following up with the things that they need to do. Make sure that they're handling their business and they're not, loafing off. Because even with independence, they still need a little bit of guidance. You're still a parent, and they still need you to check in and make sure that things are being handled the correct way. The next two things that I'll share with you before we close out on today's episode is number one. This thing is very important. I almost say this every episode podcast. You have to lead by example. You have to role model the behaviors you want your children to have. So it's important for you that if you don't like the way that your young person's responding with attitude and with their mood swings, that you're not doing the same thing. There's a saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I can tell you, and I guarantee you, if you're an educator, if you talk to educators, they can tell a lot of times when children have behavioral issues and then they meet the parents and the parents have similar traits or issues, that statement is very true. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So sometimes those mood swings or the things that your children are doing, maybe learn behaviors that they got from home from yourself. So sometimes we gotta look in the mirror and be honest. Is my child just giving back to me what I do all the time as well? That's a tough pill to swallow, but it's an important thing for us to consider. Are my children just behaving the same way that I behave? And now I'm telling them they shouldn't do that, but I've been role modeling this behavior for many years of their life. So we have to lead by example. If we want our kids to, temper down those mood swings, make sure that we're not getting caught up in some of the craziness ourselves. And then the last thing that I'll share with you before I close out the episode today is offer guidance and not solutions. One of the biggest things that our children are robbed of in today's world, I would say, is the ability to make mistakes, and ability to be children, because they want answers, because we've given them this microwave society where we just give them the answers and they don't learn the process through things. Give your child guidance, but don't give them the answers all the time. Sometimes they need to discover if this is going to work or not work for themselves, because that's the real life lesson that they'll get. We used to have these things all the time in our childhood where we would go out and explore and figure things out. In today's world, it doesn't always happen for a lot of kids. They just expect this immediate, instant kind of answer, or instant kind of know-how to things. Sometimes we got to let them develop those problem-solving skills a little bit. So give them some guidance, let them bump their heads from here and there, as long as it doesn't cause, any excruciating pain, or the adversity isn't too tough to deal with. They'll be okay. But we have to let our kids be kids and let them learn how life operates and works, and not expect that we can control everything that they experience. So these are some things to deal with mood swings. Mood swings are not easy. There's no perfect solution. Try some of the things and the tips that I share with you today, and hopefully they'll work for you. For more information, I'm going to post a whole list of things that you can do on our Facebook group. You can check us out at It Is Not Your Fault. Just put that in the Facebook search bar. You can find the podcast. Go ahead and follow us there. We post the episodes, every episode there. We also post articles and other helpful tips and things there at It Is Not Your Fault on Facebook. You can also check me out on my personal website, www.jegna.org. That's jegna.org, www.jegna.org, where I have helpful tips. You can always ask questions and send me information there. And then the third place you can always find us is at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Again, that is ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Always check us out. There's tons of great folks there with great podcasts. Be sure to share if you find something constructive. Be sure to let us know how you enjoyed the episode, or if you didn't enjoy the episode, let us know that as well. We are out for today. Please remember, it is not your fault, but you may be the answer to what's going on with the young person in your life. Take care.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
Hi, I'm Shaletta Brundage. I'm a media personality, podcaster, and a business owner. But my most important role is mom. 3 of my beautiful kids have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. When I didn't know who to trust or where to turn, I found ACRA. ACRA provides home care services to families all over Minnesota. The care is not one size fits all. They know each one of my kids is unique. They listen to what resources we needed and what's best for our family. I've seen my kids grow and thrive with ACRA's in-home care. While autism is the most common diagnosis among ACRA clients, ACRA offers personalized in-home care services for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, behavioral diagnosis, and mental illness. They work with children, adolescents, and older folks too. Find out more about ACRA at their website, acrahomecare.org. ACRA helps me provide my kids with a better quality of life. They can do it for your family too.
Children's Minnesota, the leader in specialized healthcare for kids, is here to raise awareness, standards, the bar, the stakes, the question, the curtain. On raising kids' health to the highest priority, kids need equal access to healthcare, more pediatric expertise, a voice for change. Kids need us, all of us. So let's raise them up. Children's Minnesota, the kid experts.
Did someone you've spent time with recently come down with COVID-19? Or have you been under the weather yourself? Then it's a good idea to test for the virus. When you take the simple nasal swab test, you'll get results in just 15 minutes. And these rapid antigen tests are available for free. You take this test privately at home, so no lab drop-off is required. Find out how your family can get your free at-home test right here in Minnesota. Go to sayyeshometest.org to learn all about it. That's sayyeshometest.org.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.